tao. And of course, that's a form of self-care because you attain self-peace whenever you care for someone or whenever you do something good for someone else. Drinking coffee with my hobby. Sana lahat may love life. Drinking vitamins every day, smiling, hand washing, sleeping well, and drinking a lot of vitamins according to Ma'am Marites, Directo of NCR. And by sharing our knowledge and insights gained to our fellow men. Yes, because there is nothing more fulfilling than knowing that you have shared knowledge to someone. Kaya masarap maging teacher. And trying to find someone to be blessed to is a great relief. Yes. So being a blessing also to other people, being blessed, we are, there is a saying there, we are being blessed to be a blessing to others as well. Drinking 8 glasses of water every day according to Ma'am Virginia Ebonia of NCR. Spending quality time with my family and loved ones. Embracing myself with nature. Exercising and embracing myself with nature. So that's according to Ma'am May Escaran. And drinking coffee is also a form of self-care, lalo na pag sa umaga, sarap ng kape. Created place for work from home, exercise, and reading the Bible. Gardening and tutoring my child, those are form of self-care. So, let me see kung meron pa tayong ibang makukuhang sagot na medyo hindi similar dun sa iba. Getting enough sleep, that's nice. Hindi po ba kayo nahihirapan matulog ngayong work from home? Kasi minsan parang kahit na-associate natin yung bahay sa sa trabaho, kaya minsan mahirap makatulog. Sige po. Alright. So, more likely our have already shared their self-care routine, and I'm really glad that you're coping up really well with the new normal. Kahit po anong sabihin natin or kahit na anong pag-a-adjust pa ang gawin natin, this is always gonna be for the learners, or this is gonna be for the learner's sake, for our students' sake. Now, let me share my screen again. And this time, I would like you to... Okay po, thank you po sa lahat ng mga nag-participate sa ating mga check-in questions or check-in activities. This time, what I would like you to do is to let us know how much do you know about the topic that we have for this day. So we will have a sort of a pre-assessment, but don't worry because this pre-assessment is not not going to be graded, or we are not going to judge you. We are not going to group you according to your score in your assessment. We would just like to know how much do you know, or saan kami magi-start. Ano na po ba ang alam ng aming participants about sa mga i-discuss namin, so that we will have the necessary preparations, or we will have the necessary right questions to ask during the breakout session. So, para lang malaman po namin kung saan kami mag-isimula. Just like teaching in a classroom, you have to know where your students are. I'll be providing again a link in the chat box, and please click that link. Then you will be redirected to Google Form. You are going to be given 10 minutes, or you're given 10 minutes to answer the pre-assessment. Yan. Or you may directly go to forms.gle/1S7E9 KI7TLXCVMFH8. Pero medyo mahaba po yung link. So pwede na po siguro kahit ito na lang. Kahit dito na lang po sa chinat ko sa chat box natin. Please proceed to this link, and then please answer the pre-assessment. The time on my clock is 9:49, so perhaps by 10 o'clock, I'll check if everybody or all of our participants have already answered the pre-assessment. Sige po. You're given 10 minutes to finish the pre-assessment and please visit the link that I have provided in the chat box. Nakapin na po yan para kita niyo po kaagad. Let me check if so far, ilang ano na ba tayo? Ilang responses na po tayo for today? Let me check. Oh, biglang lumobo yung ating responses. So, meron na po tayong almost, ilan na to? Ilan to from cluster 2? Wait lang, naglo-load po. I think we already have around 173 responses. We have 370 participants, so more likely we should have 300 plus responses. Siguro mga around 340 responses. Sige po. Biglang lumobo. Ang bilis naman magsagot ng iba. Don't worry po, this is not graded, so no pressure at all. Just be honest with your answers or just be honest kung hindi po talaga alam, kahit hulaan nyo lang, okay lang po yan. Gusto lang po namin malaman kung saan kami mag-i-start. Our dear participants, you are required po to sign in. You're required to sign in po because we are avoiding spams or we are avoiding, bots, spam bots for us to, we are avoiding that those spam accounts will reach our form so that they will have a more reliable data on our participants' knowledge about the topic. By the way po, you are all reminded to please rename your Zoom account names to the prescribed format. Okay lang po, Ma'am Nancy Dolorosa, kung hindi po mabuksan. Don't worry po. This will not have a bearing on your participation here. We would just like to know kung ano po yung alam na aming participants. Kung biglang lumobo, naging 262. Sige po, thank you. Ma'am Jenya Santos, sorry po if I am talking too much. That's because I am the facilitator for this session. Thank you. If you don't like to hear me talking too much, ma'am, maybe you could just leave the audio or you could just lower the volume of your phone or your computer. Thank you, ma'am. We already have around 284 responses. So maybe around we will have around 100, ilan pa ba? Mga 120 na lang po kasi we have around 372 participants today. Please po, if you don't like your host to be talking too much, you may just leave the meeting room. Kasi po, we are talking too much because we would like to share something to you. Thank you po. Also, please let us recognize you, or please let us know kung we have posted already the format for renaming your Zoom account, and we have also posted instructions on how to rename yourselves. So please paki-comply na lang po. That's full name _, region, and division. Oh, we already have around 354 responses. So I think almost everybody or almost everyone has already answered the pre-assessment. And it's already 9:56, but we still have 4 minutes. So maybe let's wait a little for those who are not yet done. Baka may humabol pa po. Yan na, may mga humahabol pang isa, dalawa. Thank you po. Padami na ng padami ng responses. Thank you po sa lahat ng sumasagot. Okay, so I think everybody has already answered because right now we have around 365 responses. So thank you very much po for those who have already answered, and for those na hindi pa po tapos, siguro we will just open the pre-assessment until around. Thank you po again to those who participated in the pre-assessment and in the check-in questions. Thank you po. I'll already return the floor to Ms. Shang Soriano. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Elaine, for setting the mood. Surely our participants are now energized and are excited to confirm or to verify whether what they answered during the pre-assessment are all correct. And so at this moment, we will now have the plenary session. For our first session, may I Sir Gaudencio Luis N. Serrano, Supervising Education Programs Specialist, and Sir Julivan R. Abrea, Education Program Specialist, to discuss to us their topic entitled Transitioning to New Normal Through Distance Learning. We give them our sounding virtual applause, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Ma'am. Of course, Ma'am Shang and Ms. Melaine for before the start of our session. Again, good morning, everyone. So I'm Sir Luis, I'm Sir G, and with me this morning is Sir July, one of my co-specialists in BLD. So once again, welcome to all the participants to our National Orientation for Educators, Roles and Responsibilities for Parents and Learning Facilitators in the Implementation of Learning Delivery Modalities or the DLDM. So I believe at this point, you have already attended different webinars discuss about different learning modalities. Not only attended webinars, because being the chief and EPS of your respective station, I believe you already facilitated and conducted trainings for your teachers and different stakeholders. So nonetheless, the national orientation probably will contribute and adds the current knowledge that you have about different learning modalities on the on the roles and responsibilities of the parents and somehow some concepts. Okay, but always remember it is very important that you learn these things directly from the Department of Education. So the first topic for this morning, we will be discussing about the different learning modalities in new normal. Specifically, I will be focusing on the face-to-face and homeschooling. So my colleague Julie Van will be discussing later about the distance modality. Okay. So in learning these modalities, we will be looking into the general concept of these learning modalities. We will talking about the general definition, of course, the advantages and the process of implementation, as stated in DMCI 2020-00162, the memorandum signed by USEC San Antonio, entitled Suggested Strategies in Implementing Distance Learning Modalities for the school year 2020-2021, published last July 21, 2020. So let's begin. So there are three main learning modalities: face-to-face, distance learning, and homeschooling. Remember that these modalities, three modalities, aims to engage our learners into guided and independent learning activity on pace and time under the parents' care and supervision. Remember that. Under the parents' care and supervision. And of course, in consultation with our teachers. Specifically, our parents have been given the task on tracking their child's progress while allowing them to manage their own learning. So while these modalities provide opportunities for the ways that education will be delivered, definitely there are still challenges along the way. So maybe as parent and as educator, a lot of questions are on your mind right now. So question is, do you need laptop, tablet, or smartphone in order to provide and ensure learning delivery to your child? Maybe you have a very poor internet connection at home. So how you get all the materials online, and are the printed or self-learning modules are for free, and how these modules be distributed, retrieved, or checked. And as a DepEd official, a lot of initiative done to solve all our issues and challenges. Later, we will be capturing those in our breakout session. So our big idea for this session is parent as a learning facilitator. Again, that is parent as a learning facilitator. So face-to-face learning modality, we all know is that it is the most traditional type of learning instruction and is essentially a teacher-centered method of education wherein the course and learning material are taught in person, where teachers and learners are both physically present in a common space. Parent as a learning facilitator, they need to know learners and of course their child first. Kasi nga, learners vary on their learning styles and capabilities. Some student can adapt easily in face-to-face modality, some are not. But my question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of the face-to-face learning in a classroom situation? So the students able to concentrate harder on learning because there'll be less distraction than if you were at home. Number two, the students gain greater understanding because stories and real world examples from teachers and other students. They get the real examples from teachers and their other students. And of course, the students have a greater chance of completing the course successfully by doing it in a classroom situation. Meaning, remember, completion rate on a teacher-led classes is almost 5 times higher than on an online learning. That's why in this new normal, a lot of parents will encounter difficulty in guiding their child. But remember, they are the one who will be act as a learning facilitator to their child. And the students, of course, definitely in face-to-face modality, they feel more comfortable and learn more easily in a familiar and traditional classroom situation. The students can access more information and richer understanding through teacher and other students' body language and voice in the classroom situation. And lastly, one last advantage is the students have the opportunity to connect with to problem solve and network with other students from a wide range of background. Meaning, teachers and my dear participants, face-to-face modality will holistically develop the child's mental, social, emotional, and intellectual well-being. Definitely, actual human interaction already proven to help learners to develop their social skills and emotional maturities. Also, it is a very in a face-to-face modality, it is very to implement the two DepEd order number 42 series of 2016, the policy guidelines and daily lesson plan preparation, and of course the DepEd order number 8 series of 2015, the policy guidelines in classroom situation. Since it's new normal, the DOH and the Interagency Task Force, and of course, the Office of the President put on hold this modality until such time we are allowed to go back in school. Because it is very crucial for us to do the face-to-face modality because we need to implement social distancing. And of course, it's a greater risk for our learners, teachers, and of course, the whole school. But let's imagine, my dear supervisors, what if in the middle of the school year, we will be allowed by the DepEd or the Office of the President to do the face-to-face classes? What will happen? Of course, please be remembered and please be guided that we need to follow the mandate of the following DepEd order. DepEd order number 7, series of 2020, the school calendar of activities for school year 2020 and 2021, which states that we need to have the school plan embedded in a learning continuity plan and with the compliance on the minimum health standards, the DepEd order number 14, the series of 2020, the guidelines on the required health standards in basic education offices and schools. And of course, as school official, we need to be reminded with the DepEd order number 11, series of 2020, the revised guidelines on alternative work arrangement. And please be reminded that if ever we will be allowed in a face-to-face classes, our classes will be limited into 18 to 20 students, following the social distance protocols. What else? It also follows the usual class programs, but no class shifting is advised. So, the big question now is which modality that your school, that your locality will be using and how to implement those modalities. So from this question, the second modality comes in, the distance learning. So, Sir July, we will be discussing the distance learning. Sir July, please.
Thank you so much, Sir Luis. Sir Luis, am I here po?
Yes, sir.
Ayan. So again, thank you so much, Sir Luis, for presenting to us the first part of your topic. And to our participants, a pleasant morning to everyone. Naimbag, abigat kadayo amin. Maayong buntag kaninyong mga tanan and magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. So one of the key points in Sir Luis' presentation is that the Department of Education is one with the President Duterte in having a strong commitment to putting safety and health among our students and learners or even teachers as a non-negotiable priority of the department. That there should be no face-to-face instruction until such time that a vaccine is introduced or until recommended by the IATF. Hence, there should be other modalities of the delivery of education must take place. And that would now be the focus of my discussion. So what is distance learning delivery modality? So distance learning is a learning delivery modality where learning happens purely at home. In some educational books or literature, it is referred to as remote learning, in a sense that the learning takes place remotely or away from the school, which is the usual or the normal place for formal learning and education. Thus, we need to communicate that in this time of pandemic, the parents would have a vital role to play in this modality. Distance learning can also be modular, an online, or combination of both. For modular, the self-learning modules or the SLMs serves as the main learning resource material. For the online, two important things to consider. First, of course, our internet connectivity, because this is the medium for that interconnects communication networks. And second, the presence of devices or gadgets, such as the mobile phones, iPads, laptops, and desktop computers. And another form of distance learning is through the television and radio-based instruction, or simply the TVRBI. This is a form of learning that predates even during the war, as emphasized by our dear Secretary Briones, and she proves the effectivity of this modality. One of the advantages of the TVRBI is that it is broadcasted via free airwaves that covers great geographical distances, which includes places that cannot be reached by internet. And DepEd has forged partnership with some broadcasting stations to deliver these TVRBI lessons. Some other considerations for distance learning would be how would the modules or the SLMs be delivered to our learners if we have a restricted policy on clustering and gathering of people. So one of the options is to request assistance from our barangay officials or local government units. They can assign a designated place where parents can personally pick up the SLMs. Second, it can also be distributed in the schools which are not used as quarantine facility. And this could be done with proper scheduling and strict implementation of the health and physical distancing protocols. We know that as of the moment, there are some schools that already had their simulations activity, dry run activities for the module distributions. This is to ensure smooth and safety conduct of this activity. DepEd has also asked parents to provide context of what possible learning delivery modality we can offer to them. So during our pre-enrollment period, there was a survey conducted among our parents or guardians asking their current situation. So this survey tried to sort if parents have, let's say, access to internet, do they have gadgets or devices for communication and for learning, or if they can provide for such. And this survey provided a baseline data on learning modality or modalities that a school can offer to the learners and parents. There are various types of distance learning delivery modalities. As mentioned earlier by Sir Luis, this is from the OUCI memo entitled Suggested Activities in Implementing Distance Learning Delivery Modalities for this school year, as well as the DepEd Order Number 12, Series of 2020 on the policy on the adoption of Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan, or the LCP. Okay, these modalities are as follows. We have the modular distance learning, or the MDL. We have the online distance learning, or the ODL. We have the TV radio-based instruction, or the TVRBI, and the blended distance learning. So we will be discussing these modalities one by one. For the modular distance learning, this could have two types: the digital modular distance learning and the printed modular distance learning. Basic difference is the platform or form of availability of the module. One is in digital or soft copy of the modules, and the other one is the printed or the actual or hard copy of the modules. For the digital modular distance learning, since modules are in soft copies, okay, this can be accessed through the internet connectivity using our digital devices. Then the school can also provide digital copies to flash drives or even through the CD format. For the pure printed modular distance learning, since the modules are already printed, we do not need any more internet connectivity. However, we encourage the parents to communicate to teachers through text messaging or even call if possible to monitor the status and accomplishment of tasks of their children. As mentioned, the SLMs are the main printed resource material. However, there are other forms of learning materials that we can use, such as the LMs or the learning or learner's material and the textbook. So we can just choose some activities from this material which are aligned to the most essential learning competencies. We can also use primer lessons for the lower grades and the teacher-made activity sheets which can also be utilized to supplement the SLMs. Also, another important initiative of the Department of Education is the online distance, the offering of learning resource portals. Okay, so these are in the form of the DepEd Common, the Learning Resource Management and Development System, or the LRMDS, and the Learning Management System. So we know DepEd Commons and LRMDS are repository of learning materials which can be accessed online. But once online, the materials, once the materials are being downloaded online, this can now be made available to the devices even offline or without internet connection. Some of the learning resources that we can find in DepEd Common or LRMDS are the digital format of the modules. We could also have the audio-video lessons or materials and some teacher-made activity sheets. DepEd Commons allow collaborations among writers and contributors, while LRMDS already had the quality-assured materials and resources available there, which is being managed by the BLR. Learning Management System, on the other hand, is an online platform where teachers and learners can interact virtually in real time. Teachers can use this as a virtual classroom where they can post their lessons, handouts, or activity sheets. ICTS has already conducting training on the use of our very own DepEd LMS. But some examples of the LMS available are the Edmodo, Google Classrooms, and Schoology, among others. And on the online distance learning, it could have basically two types: the synchronous learning and the asynchronous learning. So how do we differentiate one from the other? In synchronous learning, there is real-time or live interaction. The teacher discusses the lesson in real time, and there is an actual interaction with the learners. This is made possible through the online conferencing applications, such as Zoom, Google Meet, Hangouts, Skype, and so on. So by the way, this orientation that we are conducting now is a form of synchronous learning. For asynchronous learning, there is no real-time or live interaction between the teacher and the learners. This is made possible through the use of the LMS being discussed earlier. So teacher can post in the LMS the recorded video lesson, even the handouts or activity sheets. Then the learners can just access the lessons and accomplish the activity sheets in a more flexible time and during their convenient time, or as indicated in their weekly home learning plan. So by the way, the use of weekly home learning will be discussed on the next session. One important consideration in using the online distance learning is to ensure that the screen time guidelines is being followed. So the screen time guideline is being set by the American Academy of Pediatrics and being affirmed by the World Health Organization. So for kindergarten, the maximum screen time is set at 1 hour per day. For grades 1 to 3, it's 1.5 hours per day. For grades 4 to 8, the maximum is 2 hours per day. And for grades 9 to 12, the screen time is set maximum at 4 hours per day, 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. So the screen time guidelines is set to ensure that learners will still have physical activities to avoid development of sedentary behavior and learning styles. It would also avoid the prolonged exposure to the light emitted from our devices, which could have some adverse or harmful effect to our health. As teachers, school heads, and parents, we need to ensure that this screen time guideline is being followed, and this should be indicated in the class program or scheduling or in the weekly home learning plan provided to the learners and parents. And another distance learning modality is the TV and radio-based instruction. So as mentioned, the TV RBI instruction can be used because of its great advantage in terms of coverage, in TV and radio-based lessons. Okay, this is broadcasted through the television and radio station with a set on a set schedule. So the broadcast of the TV lesson would be or should be on the same week as the lesson being discussed in the SLMs. So hence, parents should be aware of this broadcast schedule. TVRBI also serves as a supplement to our available SLMs. Okay, this is very much important for the early key stage learners, for key stage 1 or kinder to 3, where SLMs are not enough because basically the learners are not yet readers. They are not yet independent learners yet. Therefore, the TVRBI would provide the modeling strategy for our young learners. Now, are we allowed to combine these different distance learning modalities? Of course, the answer is yes. Okay, we can combine this modality, which we call blended distance learning. But before I proceed, I would like to make a clarification or to clarify or differentiate blended learning and blended distance learning. Blended learning is being mentioned in Deped Order number 12, which is the policy on the adoption of the Learning Continuity Plan. The OUCI memo on suggested strategies on implementing distance learning mentioned of blended distance learning. So what's the difference between the blended learning and the blended distance learning? In blended learning, we are blending or combining learning modalities with face-to-face instruction. So therefore, in blended learning, face-to-face is a constant modality being combined with other modality. But since face-to-face instruction is being halted, the Department of is now considering the blended distance learning. And this combines the modalities under the distance learning. Hence, no actual face-to-face instruction between the teachers and the learners. So under this modality, we could have the combination of online and modular, the combination of online and the TVRBI, and the combination of modular and the TVRBI. So let's describe each one by one. For the combination of online and modular, for the online distance learning, it could be either synchronous or asynchronous learning, which we are combining with the printed modular distance learning. This can be done in, let's say, in a week, okay? In a week schedule of a learner in a particular subject or learning area. Let's say one day, 1 hour perhaps is for online learning. And the rest of the days of that week can be done independently by the learner using his or her printed SLM. Second one is the combination of online and the TVRBI. So again, distance learning would be either synchronous or asynchronous learning. Then we combine it with the TVRBI instruction. However, one of the caveats of using this blended modality is that the screen time guidelines should still be followed. Because if you would notice, in these two modalities involved, it involves exposure to gadgets or devices or even television. And to ensure that the screen time guideline is followed, we need to check the class programming or the weekly home learning plan. Finally, the modular, combination of modular and the TVRBI. Okay, this could be one of the ideal combination because, as I have said earlier, the lessons in the modules are converted into TV lessons or radio lessons. Then the task or the activities in the SLMs will be done by the learners in their flexible time or the time indicated in their with home learning plan. Okay, and finally, to conclude, for the distance learning modality, this is quite new to us. I know this is very new to us. Hence, novelty and non-familiarity to this modality could be a limitation. Okay, and this non-familiarity to this modality would create somewhat stress or technological stress to our learners, to our parents, or to our teachers. Okay, so what should we do to counter or minimize this stress? Okay, this can be minimized through the use of orientation, simulation program, dry run activities, pilot run or pilot testing activities to our teachers, learners, and parents for them to become familiar with these modalities. Okay, and we would like to extend our congratulations to the schools and the field offices who already had their simulations and dry run activities to prepare our learners, parents, and teachers. And for the next modality, which is homeschooling, I will be turning you over and calling back again Sir Luis Serrano to explain that modality.
Okay, thank you so much again, Sir July, for clarifying concepts on different kinds of learning modality, of distance learning modality. And I'm sure our participants today can relate to their experience, whether which modality they are using right now. Because definitely they already conducted survey amongst their stakeholders, do some dry run, trial tests to improve their implementation. But remember, we still have the last learning modality, the homeschooling. So at this point, I'll be mentioning some names, and I want you to type on the chat box which field of expertise that the following person I'll be mentioning are known for. Okay, so again, I'll be mentioning some names, and I want you to mention and to state which field of expertise that the following person are known for. Okay, so first, Albert Einstein. So I'll be reading, sir. Okay, science. Sige, correct. Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci she's a painter. Yes, correct. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Si Mozart, saan? Music. Ito. General Douglas MacArthur he is AP, okay? History, military, US General. Ito. Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, and George Washington. They're all U.S. president. Okay, correct. How about John Wesley? Who is Wesley? Okay, correct. Ang gagaling ng participants natin. John Wesley, sabi actor daw, yes. But he is known for, ano ba? He is a founder of, yes, tama si Ma'am Cherry Binluan. Founder of the Methodist Church. Ito, Blaise Pascal. Tama, ang galing. How about Blaise Pascal? He is known for math, computer scientist. Okay. Ito, Charles Dickens, Mark Twain, Daniel Webster. Who are these? Saan nakilala sila? They are known for as poet. Yes, a writer, literature writer. How about Charles Chaplin? He is known for saan? Actor. Yes, ito konti na lang. Florence Nightingale. Sige nga, baka may nakakilala dyan. Florence Nightingale. He's a nurse. Oh, she's a nurse. Okay? Leo Tolstoy. Si Tolstoy. Actually, Leo Tolstoy wrote his famous artwork during a pandemic. Yes. Literary arts. Si, ito, last. Definitely kilala nyo to. Alexander Graham Bell, Thomson, Orville, and Wilbur Wright. Yeah, novelist. Favorite daw ni ma'am. There are scientists and inventor. Last name, Joan of Arc. She is, sige, scientist, hero, yes. Joan of Arc is a hero. She's a queen, a saint, and a martyr. Not just a biblical character, but she is a saint and martyr. You know, our dear participants, no? All I mentioned are all product of our homeschool program. Whoa, di ba? Kahit ako nung nalaman kayo, nagulat na shock talaga ako. So why do you think homeschool produced such world achievers? All I mentioned are such a world achievers. So why do you think that the homeschool produced such world achievers? Sige nga, konti explanation in our chat box. They had dedicated parents, correct? Let's go back. It depends on the nature and nurture. Diba? Ayan. one who guides them, learned with them. They're guided by their parents. Diba nga, our big idea kanina, parents are learning facilitators. So imagine that this pandemic, we can produce world achievers na tulad nila. Kasi nga, how homeschool differ from other modalities. Homeschooling is a kind of learning modalities wherein the parents, correct kayo, the parents drive the learning and education of their children. And of course, definitely, the homeschooling kasi, it is centered on the culture and the values of family that the parents wants to their children. However, some literature proves that the homeschool, they need parents who have advanced college degree kasi nga they design, they personalize curriculum for their children. But the most important thing is the family values. The homeschooling program centered on the family values, what the parents want to their children. Kasi nga, homeschool program, it is designed to provide an alternative delivery system of honing the critical years of every child. Who for some reason, other parents, they encounter some circumstances who cannot avail affordable instruction in a traditional school. But remember, di ba nga, tulad na sabi ko kanina, every individual is unique. Homeschool addresses this uniqueness, these individual differences. It recognizes learning styles and special needs. And of course, definitely DepEd already recognizes these realities. Kasi nga, kaya nga may lalabas tayong policy on the homeschool policy on the homeschooling. Diba? Well, according to our Constitution, Article 14, Section 1, affirms the legality of the homeschool. Kasi nga, our Constitution view that the parents have the natural right to rear our children. So meaning, depende kay parent. It depends upon the parents whether they send their children into a traditional face-to-face school or they want, since nalaman nila na kaya nila, they can definitely enroll their child in a homeschool program. Even after, sabi ko nga, di ba, kahit hindi, even before pandemic, homeschooling is there. So in Philippines, we have two kinds of homeschooling. One is in-home study, and the number two is in-home education. In-home study is wherein the providers came from a local schools, whether it is a public or a private institution. In in-home study, the school teacher, kasi nga, these are all DepEd accredited. All school in homeschoolers in homeschool study, all schools or homeschool are accredited by the Department of Education, meaning the homeschool is bounded in a normal school wherein the teacher, the legitimate high school teacher or preschool teacher is a primary facilitator of the whole educative process wherein they will prepare the curriculum, the class schedule for the children. They will even can go to the house of the children, of the learner. They're in charge with the whole academic process of the child. However, in the homeschool education, in in-home education, this is very independent, wherein the parent is in charge in devising the curriculum, in identifying the schedule, and of course identifying the schedules of their learners. So it's very independent. However, in this homeschooling, they are enrolled in a foreign provider. Ayun yung catch nun. Maybe your question is, so what are the benefits of the homeschool? Well, if you choose this modality, the homeschool, definitely, the homeschoolers, you can protect, as a homeschooler, you can protect your child from any harm outside the comfort of your home. And of course, you can save yourself as a parent, as a learning facilitator, and your child from stress. And it saves times travel, going to school, you can avoid traffic, etc., etc. And of course, the required submission, the deadline of the school, the regular school, kasi nga, doon sa isang other kind, you still have deadlines, di ba? However, in this kind, in home education, you don't have deadline na to be passed to your school. Okay? So, what else? However, you can experience an unlimited family bonding, and everything is opportunity to learn kasi you can bring your child whenever you're out of travel. Okay? So but you, after the benefits, you still have challenges encountered by the homeschoolers. So what are those challenges? Of course, it limits the number one challenge for homeschoolers. It limits human interaction, so it affects social skills of your child. And what else? It delay the curriculum. Kasi nga, you are following the capability, the learning style of your children, of your learner. So it will delay the curriculum. And some parents experience the teacher syndrome. Kasi nga, yung pagkakaiba between the difference between you as a parent and you as a learning facilitator. Maybe, some will experience that during the pandemic, even if you choose the distance learning. You will experience the teacher syndrome. Kasi you will act as the learning facilitator. And of course, what else? In homeschooling, you will spend a lot of money. Bakit? Yes, you can save expenses in school bus, pero the tuition fee is ×3 versus the normal school. And remember, so yon. So that's the homeschooling. Okay? So remember, as educators, is right now, the students, the parents, the teachers, everyone, we are experiencing huge change and uncertainty at the moment. But remember, the importance of education remains consistent. In Filipino, makahubog ng isang buo at ganap na mag-aaral na may pakinabang na literacy. It's still consistent. The standard is still there. Kasi nga, as Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the whole world. So I think that's all for this morning about the learning modality. Thank you so much again, dear participants, and have a great orientation.
Thank you so much, Sir Luis and Sir July, for that explicit discussion of different learning delivery modalities. Okay, so as mentioned earlier by Ma'am Saleh, after every plenary sessions, we shall be having breakout sessions. At this point, I'm sure Ma'am Elaine has already assigned you to your respective breakout rooms. So may we have again Miss Elaine to give us instructions on the breakout sessions. Ma'am Elaine?
Hello po. Good morning po to everybody. So for our breakout session, let me share my screen. Alright, so for your breakout sessions po, you will be asked to discuss the following. And please feel free to take notes or to take a picture or to take a screenshot or even write the questions so that you could organize your thoughts in answering the questions or in answering these discussion points. So for the first question, it's, wait lang po ha. It's what learning modality will be implemented in your division or region, and how forward naghang siya, sorry po. What learning modality will be adopted by most schools in your division or region? How prepared are the parents and schools in implementing this modality? What are the challenges do parents and schools encounter as they prepare for this modality? And how do schools and field offices address these challenges? So we are giving you 1 minute to please take note of the questions so that later on during the breakout sessions, you can share your thoughts or you can share at the context of your region or division. Thank you po. Also, we would like to remind everybody that the breakout session groups are on a randomized, they are randomized. So maybe you will not be with your region mates or division mates, and you will meet someone or you will meet some people from other regions as well.
Hello.
Good morning po.
Good morning.
Good morning din po. Morning po. Group, morning. Group 6 po yata tayo. Morning po. 6 po ba to? Group 6? Parang yung po nakita ko sa monitor room 6.
Room 6 po. Good morning.
Opo. Morning po from May Kawayan po. Second 3. Mami na Valencia.
Good morning po, mga Madam Excel. Kaloocan.
Hi, Ma'am Mir.
Magandang buhay, Ma'am Vivian. Alam
Good morning po.
Oh, magandang buhay po.
Good morning sa lahat.
Morning
Morning
po.
po.
Happy birthday, Kuya.
Hello, Ma'am V.
Tina Jackie.
Hello po, good morning.
Hello.
Sabi ko ba?
Morning.
Hello po.
Ma'am Jack, nakahabol ako dun sa daluyan.
Saan? Saan, ma'am?
Training.
Ay, hindi ko siya.
Group pala tayo, Ma'am Jackie.
Hindi ako nakahabol, ma'am.
Hindi kay Ma'am Chi.
Sa daluyan, Ma'am Jack.
Ano ka?
Opo.
Hindi ako nakahabol, nakasara na.
Oo nga raw po.
Mag-ano sila? Magla-live?
Mr. Wong, Mr. Eduardo Wong, naka-screen share po kayo.
Hindi ikaw.
Ha?
Mabasa na namin lahat ng chat nyo.
Po, sir.
Mr. Wong.
Sa Wong, buksan mo yung video mo. 7 buwan na kitang hindi nakikita.
Hello, Ma'am. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Hello po. Hello po.
Hello po. Good morning po.
Good morning din po.
Morning po.
Morning.
Ako po rin iunang po.
Oo.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
We have 25 minutes left. Perhaps we can start sharing as regards the questions given to us earlier. Would like to start?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning po.
I have 2 questions, ma'am. Who would like to start out this? Kanina po sa session natin, we heard the different learning modalities. So, based po dun sa question 2, who wants to share po?
Yeah, may I start? I'm from Malabon.
Yes, ma'am, please. Thank you, ma'am.
And in Malabon, because most of our students do not have access to gadgets and possibly don't have access also to the internet, we opted to choose the modality in totally printed modules, all printed modules, which were reproduced by the division. And then they were recently distributed. The first 3 weeks were distributed to the students via the barangays and other volunteers. So the modules will be how do we facilitate them and how do we monitor them? The sheets that the students will also submit to the respective, we have teletindahans in the each barangay. It's a sari-sari store or a house of a teacher where the learners can submit their weekly compilation of answer sheets that the teachers will check. At the same time, teachers are given a class program where they will have to monitor or facilitate further learning by accepting clarifications and questions via Messenger or FB or via cell phones or landline phone calls. We are not going online because we wouldn't like any of our students to be left behind, because most of them cannot afford gadgets or do not have internet access. But for the higher levels, for example, senior high school, there are some exercises there that they need to access online via YouTube. But we also participated in the NCR and central office efforts to do radio and broadcasting in instruction. So basically, that is what we're doing in Malabon. Distance learning via modules, and we followed the supplementary learning material format of NCR. That's all. Thank you.
Can I have from Manila? May I share our answers?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ma'am Marilu. Yes, ma'am. Hello, ma'am. From Manila.
Hello. Okay, can I have the floor?
Yes, please, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I'm Aida Rondilla from the city of Manila, and we are adopting the modular, the printed and digitized modality. For the first 2 weeks of schooling, we will be using printed modules, and we have already prepared and distributed all of these modules to our parents through the barangays, and in some areas through modalities such as delivery services. Now, for everybody knows that in Manila, we have a very supportive mayor, and that's your May. And we have already started the distribution of tablets for our learners and laptops for our teachers. So we only printed 2 weeks worth of the module in preparation for the digitized module utilization. So starting on the 3rd week of classes, the students will be accessing the digitized copies of the modules already embedded in the tablets that they have received. And from time to time, as we go along with the production of modules, those modules for the 2nd quarter and the succeeding quarters will be inputted into the tablets of the learners. So there will be some areas wherein we will be using a combination of printed near the pier area. That's a very depressed area. So a lot of people there are living without electricity or without internet connectivity. So for those students who could not access or who could not access the internet, we will be providing them with printed copies. For some students, they will be using the digitized. So at the same time, the students who could not access the internet will not be left behind, because they will be provided with printed materials. So again, first 2 weeks printed, succeeding weeks digitized, and in some areas combined. Thank you.
Okay, hello, Ma'am Marlene.
Hello, ma'am. So, good morning. So, thank you, Ma'am Aida, for sharing po, no? So, it's a blended, no, sa first 2 weeks, sabi nyo nga po, digitized and modular. Okay. So, let me just share my screen. So, others could contribute also to the discussion, kasi we can learn also from the plans and actions done by different divisions. and regions. Okay. So anyone from regions 2, 3, and CR and CAR? Who wants to add and share in the discussion? What learning modality will be adopted? How prepared are the parents and schools? Let's say if you're going to assess yourself 1 to 10 based on your observation and maybe you conducted some dry run and pilot, how prepared are you in your respective area po? And what do you think are the possible challenges that you will encounter as we implement this new learning modality? So anyone from the participant? Yes, Sir Romulo, you are waving. Do you want to share po? Sir Romulo from CAR?
Okay, yes. Here in
Morning.
Kalinga, we shall... Oh, yes, ma'am. Good morning, ma'am. So, Mr. Galnawan from CAR, SDO Kalinga. So, we just printed modules because this is, we think it gives equal access to all learners. Wherein all learners will be given a printed module, and the modality that we employed is we downloaded the funds to all the schools. And if we are going to the preparedness, the readiness of the schools as of today, from scale, using the scale 1 to 10, some schools are 7 and some schools are 8. And we are giving continuous, we are providing continuous technical assistance to school heads so that by October 5, all the schools should be ready. And the challenges that are being met for this preparation, the most common is the procurement and reproduction of the materials. And of course, considering also the downloading or the uploaded soft copies of the modules from the milk. So thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I wonder, were you able to conduct po parang dry run or pilot? Kasi in some regions, may mga ganun po kaming narinig.
Yes, ma'am. We cascaded the pilot testing that was the regional pilot testing that was conducted July, and we conducted it September. I know, yes, August, first week of August also. We rolled this out to all the schools per district.
Thank you, Sir Romulo. No, I agree with you, no, with the modular equitable access po talaga.
Yeah. Wala naman na bisa gusto kong
Thank you, Sir Romulo. So maybe another participant who wants to share. Ma'am Perfecta, are you raising your hand po? Ma'am Perfecta Bautista?
Nakamute siya, nakamute.
Nakamute pa si ma'am. One moment, ma'am.
Yes, hello. Good morning again.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
Hello,
ma'am.
Good morning.
From Region 2, SDO Santiago City, ma'am. We will be adopting different modalities based on the result of the survey conducted by the different schools in our SDO. And we are very lucky that we have a very supportive local government unit headed by our beloved city mayor, because in our reproduction of the different modules, it is, aside from the support given by the national office, the LGU also is giving their full support, most especially in the provision of the radio unit, transistor radio, because we'll be utilizing RBI also. And we have already conducted the pilot testing, and we are also thankful to our regional supervisors because they have been working with us during the conduct of this pilot testing. We also started we have also started reproducing the different modules because we will be utilizing modular, and also we are also preparing for the TV-based instruction, ma'am. So all of these modalities that we will be adapting are based on the result of the survey.
Thank you, Ma'am Perfecta. So, it's a good thing, no? Talaga tayo before we chose the modality, it's based on the survey or needs analysis. So, Ma'am, kamusta ang preparation since different modalities ang ating i-implement? Ano yung mga nakikita nyong challenges with this? And based na rin po sa pag-pilot test nyo po.
One of the challenges that we are expecting to face is that the sustainability of the commitment of the identified knowledge bearers in the delivery and pickup of these modules, and also the what is this one? The parents also, their commitment in assisting their children as they will work on these different modules, and as they will also listen to the lessons being aired in the radio.
So, oo nga po talagang parents. Kaya we're doing this, no, to hopefully all of us are able or we're done and we will do more parents orientation, no, for this coming school year. And it's a good thing to hear, ma'am, that your LGU is very supportive, no, from your city mayor. Kasi nga, ang isa pa talaga nakita nating challenge is the budget constraint. Although there's a downloaded fund coming from national office, pero as we all know, maybe it's not sufficient, no? Especially if we're going to have different modalities like in your case. But it's interesting po kasi in our previous breakout for the past last week, no? Mostly in some regions or in provinces talagang printed modality. But it's a good thing that you are going to consider different modalities based on the result. Thank you, Ma'am Perfecta po. Maybe we can hear another. Thank you, ma'am. Maybe we can hear another participant. Anyway, the questions are on the screen. So, what learning modality? How prepared are you if you're going to assess? And based on your observation and the possible challenges that you anticipate. Anyone po who wants to share?
Yes, ma'am. From Malolos, Division, Region 3.
Good morning, ma'am. From you are Ma'am Junila. Ma'am Junila Dutalas or Ma'am Fatima. Ma'am Fatima from Malolos.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning po.
Morning, ma'am. Kamusta, ma'am?
Okay, from the Division of City of Malolos po, the learning modality that we'll be adapting are printed modules and online. Although still doing the negotiation with the radio stations here in our place, we now have ongoing, we are still negotiating po. But now we are still having ongoing printing of the self-learning modules. And we actually have piloted among the 13 schools from kinder level to grade 12. Lahat po ng level ay sinimulate po sa amin. And we did the situation or the scenario analysis. And for the challenges, of course, just the same po with on the ready soft copies of the modules to be printed and on budget and funding. But with the full support of our city mayor, our teacher we provided with internet modems and with laptops and also with external drives for the needed gadgets that they will be using. So far po we are lucky enough para po ma-augment po yung mga needs po ng aming pong division for the distance learning po. Yun naman po. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ma'am Fatima. No, it's nice to hear po that the mayor and the LGU, no, supported, no, the teachers provided this gadgets, no, for the teacher. And ma'am, it's a good thing also that you conducted the drive-in, no, from K to 12. Kamusta po, ma'am? Ano ang nakita nating mga based on the situational analysis? Ano po ang nakita nating nahirapan sila, lalo na yung mga parents natin, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, our parents po are very cooperative po in the conduct of the simulation. Medyo okay naman po yung naging conduct. The challenges, of course, po dito yung pong mga risk po sa health protocols kasi po medyo sa pag-retrieve at pag-distribute po ng mga modules po na ginamit sa simulation, yun po, and the scheduling po kung paano po ma-retrieve itong mga modules po na ito. And of course po, yung monitoring po ng learning engagement ng ating po mga students, yun po ang natingnang mabuti. But so far po, successful naman po ang ginawang simulation, and then medyo nakita po dito na kaya naman po ng ating pong mga learners kung paano po, basta po mayroon pong cooperation po ang mga parents, collaboration between the partnership of the parents and the school. Opo.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am Fatima from Malolos. Okay. So, may we hear from Ma'am Amcy Esteban from NC Manila. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning to everybody. As mentioned earlier by my chief from CID, Ma'am Rondilia, Manila is using the blended learning modality. We also have our solar TV, or our region, NCR, our regional director, instructed us to develop scripts and video lessons for our learners, not only for the regular, but also for the learners with special needs. That's why we are also integrating the sign language streams in some of our video lessons in Manila. Our schools also conducted virtual lessons, and some of the challenges that we encountered was the poor internet connectivity of the learners. However, our city mayor will not only provide the tablets and laptops for our teachers, he will also give loads for our teachers and learners. That's why we are so blessed that we have all these blessings from the LGUs. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Nancy. No, oo nga, talagang very blessed ang Manila, no? Sikat natin si Mayor Yorme. But it's a good thing din po, no, na you're considering in your blended not just two, but you have three, no? You have online, you have TV, and you also have the modular. So maganda po kasi yan kasi the modular will be enhanced and through these other learning modalities like TV instruction. Thank you, Ma'am Ansi. So may we hear? So we only have 6 minutes left. Can we hear another participant to share the ano po ba ang learning modality sa inyong area and the possible challenges that you think you anticipate for this for the opening of classes?
Ma'am, may I add some more?
Mommy.
Sino to? Si Ma'am Aida. Okay,
Yes,
sige Ma'am
ma'am.
Aida po.
Ma'am, we have discussed just recently the adoption of the screening time for learners, and the World Health Organization also suggested that there will be a limited time for synchronous learning or online learning. So in Manila, the class programs have been checked carefully such that the online time learners will be compliant with the guidelines. And since the students are given only 10 gig per month, and which is replenishable every month, we have planned that the synchronous times of teachers will be in such a way that the 10 gig will last up to the next loading, or that will last up to 1 month. So yun po yung dagdag namin. Thank you.
Ma'am Aida, clarify ko lang, yung 10 gig bigay din ng LGU.
Yes, ma'am. Kasama po yun kasi they're provided with packet Wi-Fi.
Wow.
And then, pinadadalhan na po sila ng 10 gig. And that is, if you could not consume that 10 gig within the month, they will still add another 10 gig the following month. So, ang system namin, we have to devise a way wherein all the subject areas will be able to have a synchronous time, but considering the amount of load that the students have. So ikakalat po natin yon para lahat sila may chance at magkakasya yung load ng bata.
Thank you, Ma'am Aida. Actually, when you mentioned about the class program, in the second plenary, you will hear about the weekly home learning plan. And in that plan po, i-consider talaga yung screen time as suggested by the World Health and American Pediatric Organization po. So it's a good thing, no, Ma'am Aida? Yung plan na yung with the class program, you consider the screen time at the same time yung allowed gig for the kids. No, maganda po 'yan.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Magandang plano, magandang action. Thank you, Ma'am Aida. So we only have 3 minutes left. Who wants to add and in the discussion?
Hello, Ma'am
Yes.
Ana.
Good mornings. Is this
po, Sir Dorian po. Sir Edwin po, Paranaque.
Hi, Sir Edwin Doria from Paranaque. Good morning.
Good morning. At the moment, ma'am, ang ginagamit namin ay module for quarters 1 to 4 perhaps. Pagdating ng middle of quarter 1 ay ilo-launch na ng city yung city Wi-Fi. So meron po kaming city Wi-Fi na ang makaka-access lang ay mga estudyante. Gamit ang kanilang account, email account. So lahat po ng grade 1 at kinder learners ay bibigyan ng gadget ng ating LGU. Pati rin ang teachers ay may individual laptops, around 2-5 of them. So magagamit na ito mga middle of this quarter siguro ma'am kasi sa September 22 ay maglo-launch na po kami at mag-uumpisa na po ang distribution. So ngayon, itong September 7 ay nagdi-distribute na kami ng modules para sa weeks 1 and 2. Kaya ito po yung inadapt ng Paranaque, ito pong module at the moment pero magkakaroon po ng city Wi-Fi na magagamit ng mga bata. So yung mga learners naman ng grades 2 up to senior high school ay meron pa ring module kung sakaling wala silang gadget. So meron pa rin kaming printing. So in short, ina-adapt namin ang modular tapos online learning. Yun po sa Paranaque, ma'am. Thank you po.
Thank you, Sir Edwin. No, it's a good thing. No, so magkakaroon tayo ng transition from modular to blended, and I hope that the parents will be oriented pa din, no, with this transition and change. Pero it's a good thing. We see the strong support coming from the LGU, no. So talagang dito kasi sa Metro Manila talagang mataas ang case at mukhang hindi natin malalaman, no, what will happen to us even by next year. Pero maganda po itong mga naririnig ko po, no, from this breakout session na talagang may mga mayor tayo in LGU that were very, nandyan yung pagsuporta nila. Hindi lang sa teacher, even for the students, no. I heard that your kinder and grade 1, no, will receive the gadgets.
Individual po ang kinder sa grade 1.
Oo, maganda yun kasi lalo na sa early literacy, talagang challenge yun, no? How to teach reading, lalo na sa mga bata. Kung module lang, paano kaya? Kaya po yun. So anyway, thank you so much, Sir Edwin. Ma'am, gusto kong bumalik kay sino to? Dun sa Manila, I wonder, ma'am, ano po ang gagamitin nating platform? Google Meet, Zoom, kasi dapat ma-consider din natin, no, yung bandwidth na mako-consume. Kasi pag sa Zoom ata, mas madaming nako-consume compared to other communication platforms.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes po.
Lahat ng teachers po na-train na sa Google Classroom at saka sa Messenger Classroom. So para po makatipid ng husto, may times na gagamitin nila ang Messenger Classroom and sometimes yun naman kanilang Google.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, in Manila naman po, meron kaming Zoom Prime yata yung tawag nila doon na binabayaran naman ng local MOE namin. And that is for the teachers use naman. So we can accommodate up to 1,000 participants in one seminar, one meeting.
Thank you, Ma'am Aida. No, kasi sa Zoom may breakout session. I don't know, sa Google ata magkakaroon na or nagkaroon na ng ganong feature. And so Google, mas tipid po ata ang bandwidth ng Google, lalo na pag Messenger. Kaya nga yung ibang regions or areas, they're planning to use Facebook as a learning platform. And Messenger po kasi mas tipid at mas user-friendly. So once again, dear participants for this group 6, thank you po for this meaningful and meaningful discussion for the breakout session. So we're just going to wait from the host that we will return to the main plenary po. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm going to give the floor back now to Ma'am Shang. Thank you, Ma'am.
On behalf of the breakout room number 5, I would like to apologize to Sir Benedict of Santiago City. Itutuloy na lang po natin ang ating balitaktakan sa atin pong next na breakout session. Okay? But at this point, we will immediately proceed with the next topic entitled Enhancing Independent Learning Through Plans and Modules, which shall be discussed to us by Ma'am Rosalie E. Bongon, Supervising Education Program Specialist, and Sir Denmark T. Alayon, Senior Education Program Specialist of the BLD TLD. May we give them a virtual round of applause, please.
Hello, good morning. Welcome back to our plenary session. So this is plenary session number 2. Thank you so much, Ms. Krisha Ann Soriano, for the kind introduction. This plenary session number 2 entitled Enhancing Independent Learning Through Plans and Modules will focus on the discussion of the nature, attributes, and ways for utilizing 3 crucial resources. So the first resource is a self-learning module, which is considered as a primary learning resource for learners in distance learning delivery modalities. And of course, the second resource is what we call the WHLP, or the Weekly Home Learning Plan, that specifies the learning tasks that learners need to accomplish within the specified schedule. And the last one is the individual monitoring plan, which shall be utilized to monitor learners' progress based on the given intervention strategies by the teacher. So our question here is, are you wondering on what is considered as the primary learning resource to be used by the learners at home? By all means, it's the self-learning modules, or SLM. Fellow educators, my discussion for this plenary session will focus on the first resource, which is self-learning module. And I know that some of you, or most of you, are familiar already with the self-learning modules, being the default learning resource for our learners in home-based learning setup. All right, now let's get to know more about the self-learning module. So what are the attributes, what are the characteristics of the self-learning modules? There are a variety of formats of the self-learning modules, depending on the adapted learning delivery modalities for learners. This could either be in print or digital format, audio-video lessons, or electronic self-learning modules. Again, the choice of the formats depends on the context of the learning home, the available resources, and the learning delivery modality appropriate for the learner. Please take note that the SLMs follow the same instructional design in the same manner as to how a teacher presents the lessons in the traditional face-to-face instruction. At the beginning part of the SLMs, you can see that there is a review of the previous lesson, which is seamlessly connected to the present lesson to be learned in the SLMs. Also, in SLMs, there is a pre-test, which is diagnostic in nature, as it identifies what the learner already knows about the lesson, followed by the presentation and discussion of the lesson, where key contents, details, descriptions, and examples are provided to enhance the knowledge and skills of the learners required by the curriculum. There are also different assessment tasks across the SLMs which measure the learner's mastery or understanding of the key concepts presented. Also, towards the end of the SLMs, the learners are asked to provide their generalization of the lesson to ensure that they have acquired learning gains and key takeaways from it. The learners are also required to work on the post-test at the end of the SLMs. On the last page of the SLMs, the answer keys are provided so that parents or official guardians can monitor and provide guidance on their child's progress in the lesson. This is where parents or official guardians come into play because their child's learning progress at home is a shared responsibility between them and the school. Also, parents or guardians are expected to help in the distribution and retrieval of the SLMs, since by default, it is considered as the primary learning resource, which will be used by most of our learners at home in distance learning delivery modalities. I would also like to emphasize that parents or learning facilitators can pick up the SLMs from the school or from a designated area or center in the community with the school provided within the school or with the school, provided that health measures and physical distancing protocol set by the government will be observed. Also, self-learning modules can be delivered right before your doorsteps at home through the assistance of barangay officials or volunteers with proper coordination with the school. I hope that I was able to shed light on the attributes and essential components of SLMs and how it can be efficiently distributed and retrieved for learners at home. The next question is, how can you as parents or learning facilitators help your child or your learner use the SLMs? For parents, please take note that your child will be provided by a weekly home learning plan developed by the teacher. Okay, so this WHLP or weekly home learning plan specifies the following components. So the first component is the most essential learning competencies on a specific week. For example, the first MELCs are expected to be learned by the learners in the first module for week 1. Weekly tasks in all learning areas based on the SLMs are also provided in the weekly home learning plan. There is also indicated in the weekly home learning plan the time allotment for doing the tasks, and of course, the mode of submission of accomplished tasks. This could be with consideration of any available submission platforms for the learners that will be set by the teacher. There's also the time allotment for consultation with the teacher or learning facilitator. So it's also indicated in the weekly home learning plan. And of course, the last part of the weekly home learning plan are reminders for daily routines, breaks, and other off-task activities for the learners. So why is it that there has to be this component in the weekly home learning plan? So fellow educators, this is to ensure that our learners or your child at home will not consume most of their daily time for SLMs alone. So they will not be consuming their daily time in doing all the tasks in the modules. Okay, so it's very crucial that reminders are indicated there. All right. So please take note also that the weekly home learning plan ensures that your child or learner can finish the assigned tasks for a specific week and still find time to do other important things such as rest, relaxation, hobbies, physical exercise, family bonding, and even household chores. Okay? So everyone deserves a me time, more so your child or your learner. As a parent and learning facilitator, it is your role to provide support or to guide or to monitor your child or your learner in accomplishing the tasks specified in the weekly home learning plan. Again, the weekly home learning plan will be prepared by the teacher in consultation with other subject area teachers. Okay? You should also ensure that your child or your learner works on it or works on the task within the completion time frame set by the teacher. Okay? Now, the next question is, how can learning facilitators help their learners use the SLMs effectively or efficiently? All right. So for learning facilitators, you have to make yourself familiar with the contents and formats of the SLMs. It begins specifically with an introductory message, which contains introductions for the learners and for you as the learning facilitator on how to use the module. And you can find it on the first few pages of the SLMs. All right, so now the next question is, what are the different parts of the SLMs? Okay, I know that some of you or most of you are very familiar with the parts of the SLMs. Can you tell me what are those parts? Please type in the Zoom chat box. What are the different parts of SLMs? All right, so do you know the different parts of the SLMs? Have you seen SLMs? If yes, then you know the different parts, at least two or three parts. No? So according to Ma'am Amelita, title, there's the title, how to use the module, the copyright. Okay, so for SLMs that make use of Filipino as medium of instruction, merong alamin suriin, what's in, what's new, inaasahan, preface. All right. All right, pre and post test. Okay, inaasahan, tuklasin. All right. So we also have there the pre-assessment and the acknowledge page. All right. All right, it's good. It's good to know that you know some parts of the SLMs. All right, so here are the different parts of the self-learning module. Okay, so in the first page, in the title page, you can see the following. All right. All right, so the first part is, okay, the title page or the cover page, okay, which contains the following parts. Okay, so you can see there the grade level identifier. You can also see there the DepEd logo, the resource title, also the subject area, the cover art, which is similar to all other SLMs, no, regardless of the subject area. You can also see there the ADM logo and also the violator at the bottom right part of the cover page. Okay, what about on the next page? Okay, so on the next page, you can see the following. You have there the resource title, the copyright year. You also have the copyright notice, and of course, the name of the copyright holder. Okay, so the name of the copyright holder basically is the Department of Education. Okay, you can also see there on the second page or second part of the SLM is the development team of the module, which is comprised of the following. We have there the writers of the module, the editors, the reviewers, the illustrator, the layout artist, and the management team. Okay, so the management team is composed of the different instructional leaders, okay, from regional director, the chief, and of course the regional focal persons and the division supervisors and region supervisors. Okay, of course, at the bottom part of the second page, you can see the printer's company name, the address, and the contact details. Okay, now what about the parts of the main body of the self-learning module? Okay, so according to Ma'am Corazon, Aloha, there is what I need to know, what is it, what's more, what I have learned, what I can do, assessment, additional activities, and answer key. Okay, that's great, no? That si Ma'am Corazon ay kabisado niya yung mga different parts, no, ng modules. Okay, so let's get to know, let's be reoriented on the different parts of the main body of the self-learning modules. And here are the following. All right, so you have there what I need to know, what I know, what's in, what's new, what is it, what's more, what I have learned, what I can do. You also have there the assessment and additional activities. And of course, the answer keys are also provided. Okay. Also, there are Tagalog or Filipino versions, no, of these headings, no, in the different self-learning modules that make use of Filipino as the medium of instruction. So meron doon yung ating alamin, suriin, balikan, okay? So all of these are just the same, no? Okay, please take note also that these parts of the SLM have corresponding icons, contents, and purposes. And you can see that, I think, in the second or third page of the SLM. So there are different purposes, no? And the development team of the SLMs should be very familiar with these headings and, of course, the purposes. Okay. All right, so this ends my discussion on the first resource, which is self-learning module. I hope you've had a learning gain on this first resource. For the next part of this plenary session, my colleague, Ms. Rosalie E. Bongon, will discuss the nitty-gritty of the weekly home learning plan and individual monitoring plan. So she's about to present to you what WHLP or what individual monitoring plan or IMP looks like. Okay, so there you go, Ma'am Rosalie. Thank you so much, fellow educators, for listening.
Thank you, Sir Denmark. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So again, good morning, everyone. It was already mentioned by Sir Denmark that the primary learning resource that we will use for the distance learning delivery modalities are the self-learning modules, or what we refer to as the SLMs. Now, we understand that although the SLMs are presented in a manner similar with how the teacher normally delivers the lesson in face-to-face learning modality, and it is also presented in a format that allows learners to do independent learning, it is important that learners are properly guided on what they need to accomplish at a specified time, and that they should also be regularly monitored to track their progress. Now, of course, because the teachers are not there to do those things, it is now the task of the parents to be able to guide and monitor the learners. But I hope that we make it more convenient, easier for parents to do it, because we are helping them through the weekly home learning plan and the individual monitoring plan. Okay, so the weekly home learning plan, as you know, is a tool. It's a tool that is in lieu of the DLL or DLP. In the learning, we ask our teachers to come up with a DLL or DLP, but now that we're in distance learning, we shall be using the weekly home plan. Therefore, it is also very important to be able to explain how this weekly home learning plan are developed, and of course, its purposes to the parents, okay? So that they will know where they should come in, okay? So how do teachers develop the weekly home learning plan? I know that you are very much aware of this, but parents have to be oriented that the weekly home learning plan is developed through the use of the most essential learning competencies. So first, the teachers have to see which of the most essential learning competencies will be targeted on a particular week. Then they refer to the self-learning module and other learning materials relevant to the lesson for the week. Okay. Therefore, the self-learning module should be aligned with the most essential learning competencies. Now, using the SLMs as a reference, teachers prepare the weekly home learning plan by taking, of course, into consideration the key concepts, essential understanding, to formulate learning tasks or formative assessment. In doing that, teachers should be guided with a long-term vision of what they want their learners to master and achieve in terms of contents and competencies at the end of the school year. That means that they have to start with an end in mind, okay? So notice also, fellow educators, that the weekly home learning plan is collaboratively done by the learning area teachers. So at first, the learning area teacher plots the learning task for her particular subject for the entire week. Okay. After doing that, having organized that, she then submits her weekly home learning plan to the class advisor, who has now the responsibility to collate or organize everything that were submitted by the learning area teachers, so that what will be given to the learner is one comprehensive weekly home learning plan for all subject areas. Okay. However, the SLMs may not be the only reference in preparing for the weekly home learning plan. Teachers also used other resources based on their availability. I understand that on your end, in the regions and divisions, and even in schools, teachers have produced ebooks and other learning materials. Okay, so teachers can make use of this to get activities from there. They can also get activities from the LRMDS portal, from Commons, and other supplementary materials, whether they are digital, multimedia, online, including those that are teacher-made. Okay, but the teacher has to see to it what particular modality are my learners adopting. Okay, so they just have to be sure that the materials which they use is also accessible to the learners. As of now, the SLMs, based on our breakout sessions actually this is already our last day, so we've been doing this for the past 4 days already. So we have gathered a lot of information already that the most pervasive modality that is being used by is the modular distance learning. So we assume and we presume that teachers will really be using the SMs in preparing the weekly home learning plan. Okay. Now, in preparing also the weekly home learning plan, teachers are advised to take into consideration the unique context and diversity of learners in terms of their readiness, their learning interest, and learning profile. Much as we would like to encourage teachers to integrate differentiated instruction, okay, which is manifested by giving respectful activities. They are supposed to be interesting, engaging, challenging through on-level, above-level, and below-level tasks. I think it's quite difficult for now, but for the first quarter, we create the weekly home learning plan, targeting, of course, the mainstream, the average learners. In the second quarter, that is probably the time that we can decide, okay, if the weekly home learning plan that we are giving to everyone, okay, so it's like for the first quarter, it's a one size fits all. But for the second quarter, based on the results of the assessment and the portfolio submitted by the learners, we will be able to decide whether what we have been giving in the weekly home learning plan is really best for every student. Otherwise, if not, then we have the individual monitoring plan, which we will discuss later on. So here's an example of the sample weekly home learning plan. This looks familiar to you because this is an attachment to DMCI 2020-00162. It is a DepEd memorandum signed by the Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction entitled Suggested Strategies in Implementing Distance Learning Delivery Modalities for School Year 2020 to 2021. So you will notice here that in the first column, we have the day and time, okay? Day and time. And then in the second column, we have the learning area, the learning competency, and then learning tasks, and then the mode of delivery. I would like to emphasize that the schools, through the guidance and supervision of the SDOs and ROs, can modify and adjust the weekly home learning plan. Okay, because if there's anybody who is able to, best understand the context of the learner, must be the teacher. The teacher knows whether this particular learning task will really be done, can really be done by the learners in 2 hours or probably in an hour. It's all up to the teacher. So as I've said, these are suggested strategies, which can always be contextualized based on the needs and readiness of the learners. So notice here you have day and time, okay? So from 8 to 9, it says here, the child wakes up, makes up his bed, eats breakfast, and gets ready for an awesome day. From 9 to 9:30, the child engages in a short exercise or probably a meditation or bonding with the family, an early morning bonding with the family. Okay, this is presuming that the parents are there with him, or if not, there could be other responsible adults in the family. And so notice that it's all explicitly stated that this is our way of helping the child master or probably learn time management. Okay, time management. So I think this is already sufficient. But for Monday, for the first day, 9:30 to 11:30, his day begins, okay, with mathematics. So again, you can start the day with PE, okay? And then you have the learning competency. That means that this is the learning competency that is targeted for September 7 to 11. But knowing that we have already pushed the beginning of the school year to October 5, then we just have to adjust. Okay. So based on this learning competency, this is the learning task. Okay. The learning task, as you know, are these are supposed to be what the students need to be able to do or understand, okay, so that they will be able to engage promptly and intensively in the subject matter, okay, and that this learning task will be able to help him move gradually so that he will be able to meet the learning competency. And then you have here the mode of delivery. Okay, so the mode of delivery, of course, is the method of submission of learning outputs, which is preferred by the learner and the parents, and feasible also to the teacher, feasible also to the schools. So this is not one-sided, okay? It has to be agreed upon by both the teachers and the parents as to how the child is going to submit the output of this particular learning task, okay? So it can be, let's read this one. It says here, send outputs to Google Classroom account provided by the teacher or any other platform recommended by the school. So we are assuming that this particular modality is maybe online distance learning because of the use of the Google Classroom, which is quite convenient only if there is a reliable internet connection. But we hope that by this time you have already assessed, okay, whether an online learning is really feasible. Or there's another choice, have the parent hand in the output to the teacher in school. So based on this, if the parent is handing in the output to the teacher in school, we will probably assume that this is not only online. This is maybe blended learning modality. So it can be that the online learning is combined with modular learning, maybe printed or digital, or it can be also that the online learning is combined with TV, RBI, because the parent is personally submitting it to the teacher. Okay? Also, here for Friday, you have 9:30 to 11:30 self-assessment tasks, portfolio preparation, example given, you have reflective journal, and other learning area tasks for inclusive education. This is for the entire Friday until 3 p.m. onwards. So that means in this particular example, Friday is like, it's almost free day for the students. However, we have anticipated that there might be students who might not be able to finish the learning task on time. So we still give them Friday as the time to help them complete those self-assessment tasks. We also understand that there might be learners who might be able to finish ahead of time. So that is also instilled in the mind of the teachers that what will I do with learners who have finished the task on time? So the teacher perhaps can still give enrichment or enhancement activities for these learners who are performing ahead of the rest of the class. So 11:30 to 1 p.m. you have here lunch break. So I think 11:30 to 1 p.m. is just more than enough for a child to take his lunch break. The child can even have power nap for this time allotment. And still 1 to 3, ongoing pa rin yan. The child can still do self-assessment tasks, portfolio preparation, reflective journal, and so on. And then 3 onwards, it's already family time. So you will notice that the preparation of the weekly home learning plan really take into consideration that the teacher really has to strike a balance between academic rigor and social emotional learning. Okay, so I think that is what we have to keep, what we have to tell our teachers to keep in mind, that they really have to prioritize also psychosocial learning of the child. And we do hope that these periods like family bonding, exercise, and meditation can actually help the child, you know, regain his energy, maintain his focus and motivation for the succeeding tasks. Okay. Now, it is also important that the weekly home learning plan, it's very important that the weekly home learning plan is properly communicated to the parents. It should not only be known to the teacher or to the child, but more importantly, to the parents. Okay? To the parents, that the parent has to know what this weekly home learning plan is, what is the purpose of the weekly home learning plan, and even the contents of the weekly home learning plan. Now, I know you already had your dry run, your orientation, and you already had designated places where parents can actually claim the self-learning modules. And of course, perhaps that is the time that we also give the parents the weekly home learning plan. So that time when they are claiming the self-learning module, if they are allowed to stay longer in that venue, that can be an opportune time for parents to take a look at the weekly home learning plan and see if there's anything that they do not understand, quite confusing them, and then he or she, the parent, can directly ask the teacher while they're still there. At any rate, if it's already, they're already in the respective houses, the parent can still communicate using cell phone, chat, FB Messenger to the teacher, or any available form of communication, just for them to be able to communicate to the teacher and for the teacher to be able to reach out to the family of the child. Here we indicated teacher as facilitator, but we are hoping that indeed we will be able to tap the help of teacher aid or learning facilitators, although the BHROD has not yet issued the memorandum on hiring learning facilitators. Probably they're still on the process of deliberating on the policy, if they're going to release it or not. At any rate, the different regions in our past training, different regions have already expressed that they have already tapped the help of teacher aides in the respective locality. Okay, other regions call the teacher aides as learning facilitator. Others call them as literacy. What happened to my slide? Others call it as literacy mentors. Okay, I think I lost my slide. Miss Shang, am I still? Hello?
Hello,
Miss
ma'am.
Shang? Yes, am I still heard?
Yes po.
Yes po.
Okay, but I think I lost my presentation. Okay, wait. Okay, so there. Let me continue now. Okay, so that's about the weekly home learning plan. So this time, there's another crucial question. How do we help the learners who find it difficult to keep up with the lessons and consequently fall below the learning expectations? Of course, we understand that in the face-to-face interaction, there are really learners who would lag behind, who would not be able to perform like the rest of the class, okay? And the more that we expect this kind of scenario in distance learning, okay? So what do we do with them? We have to help every child, because as we say, there should be no child left behind, okay? So we have the individual monitoring plan. The individual monitoring plan is actually made for learners who lag behind, okay? The expected performance based on the results of formative assessments, okay? Or by the quality of outputs that they submit to the teacher based on the weekly home learning plan, okay? So the individual monitoring plan will help the learners by providing them intervention strategies for a certain period of time. Okay? It will serve also as a document that will show if the learner has shown either mastery of the learning competencies, significant progress, or insignificant progress. Now take a look at this example of an individual monitoring plan. So you have there the learner's name, the grade level. This is again the learner who shows gap, okay? Gap between the learning competencies, what he needs to achieve based on the learning competencies, and what the child has been showing based on the results of his learning tasks, okay? So you have here learning area. So this is specifically the subject where the child needs help, okay? So we understand that probably not all subjects the child will lag behind. It's not in all subjects naman. Okay, so we have to see sa anong subject. It's the concern actually of the learning area teacher. And then we have here the learner's needs. Okay, so the learner's needs refers to the gap between the required knowledge, skills, and attitudes described in the learning standard or the learning competency and the current status of the learners as evidenced by the assessment results. In short, these are the areas where the learners need help or intervention. Now, because we have already identified the need, that is the time that we identify the intervention strategies, okay? These intervention strategies will help learners improve at areas in which they struggle with. But it can be in various forms. It can be extending time of completion of tasks. So siguro si learner hindi niya kaya na 1 hour lang. Kaya na mga classmates niya, but this learner cannot do it in an hour. So we can extend it to 2 hours. Okay? Also, another intervention strategy can be adapting or adjusting the level of difficulty of the task. Hindi niya kaya yung independent learning. Okay? Hindi kulang sa kanya yung guided activities. So we probably increase more guided practice for the learner before asking him to proceed to independent activities. Although you will notice that in the SLM, marami talagang preparations before the independent practice. Okay? But for some students, that might not be enough. So we have to give more intervention strategies. Other than that, we can provide also sample prototype learning outputs or models for the child to refer to. May inspiration yung bata, may reference siya, may model, ganito ang gagawin. So we have to show a model, an example. Kasi baka yung nasa weekly home learning plan medyo abstract sa bata. Okay? So those are just some of the intervention strategies. It's not always about bombarding the child with more activities. Otherwise, he might get bored. The child might just surrender. Okay, especially because they have been so relaxed for the past 6 months already. So when they start classes this October 5, it will really be difficult for every child to adjust, and we anticipate that, okay? So the monitoring date is here. The monitoring date tells us the date when the teacher has evaluated the results of learners' assessments after a sufficient time of implementing certain intervention strategies, okay? And then having monitored the child's progress, we now have to decide, has the child shown insignificant progress? Ibig sabihin, nung first quarter, ganyan yung performance niya. Binigyan mo na ng mga intervention strategies, pero ganun pa rin. Did not meet expectations in the first quarter, still in the second quarter, did not meet expectations pa rin. Okay, so insignificant progress, meaning the intervention strategies were not effective. So we have to think again as teachers, how are we really going to help the child show progress? Okay? And then it can be significant progress. Here the child might have been under or might have been classified as did not meet expectations, and then gradually nagpakita siya ng progress. Ibig sabihin, pwedeng naging fairly satisfactory yung bata. Okay, but this is our goal actually for all children, that, you know, from did not meet expectations or fairly satisfactory, naging very satisfactory, or satisfactory, kahit satisfactory lang. Okay? So, we also have to explain this carefully, okay? The word is carefully to the parents. Kasi the parents might think na, oh, bakit yung anak ko may ganito? Eh yung anak ng kumari ko, yung anak ng kapitbahay ko, wala siyang individual monitoring plan, weekly home learning plan lang. Eh yung anak ko may ganito. The teacher has really really needs to explain the purpose of individual monitoring plan. That this is one way of helping out their child cope with the lesson. Okay? Also pala, sa individual monitoring plan, hindi lang tayo limitado doon sa result ng assessment based on the intervention strategies. We can also gather testimonies from parents about the learning progress of the child. Kausapin natin yung parent, how been the child progressing? Pwedeng hindi sa academics, but in terms of attitude towards learning. I think that's also very important. Okay? Or if not parents, we can interview the siblings of the child. This can help the teacher gather valuable inputs based on the progress of the child. Okay? So that's for the individual monitoring plan. I know this is taxing for teachers, but we have to do it if our main purpose really is to be able to help every child achieve the learning competencies. Okay? And so that this will be my last slide, fellow educators. Later on, you will have to listen to the more roles of parents pa in using the weekly home learning plan and individual monitoring plan for their children. So let me read this quote from Ann Henderson and Karen Mapp. It says here, when schools, families, and community groups work together to support learning, children tend to be better in school, stay in school longer, and like school more. Okay, so that's all for now. I now turn you over to Ms. Shang. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Salen, Sir Denmark, for the thorough discussion. Surely our participants are now enlightened on how to go about enhancing independent learning through plans and modules. As we did earlier, we will again be sent to our respective breakout rooms for the second breakout session. So to give us the instructions, may we have again Ms. Mylene Santos. Ma'am Mylene?
Thank you po, Ms. Shang. I'll be reading again the discussion questions for our breakout sessions. Reminder to our participants, please rename your Zoom accounts or Zoom name accounts into the prescribed format. That's full name _ region or division. Let me share my screen. Also, we would like to remind our participants that once you have disconnected from the meeting room and get reconnected again, you will be reassigned to a randomized breakout group. So here are the discussion questions for our breakout session 2. The first one is, when do you think should parents come in to provide support in accomplishing the learning task? And how can the weekly home learning plan help parents in monitoring and guiding their children? So you may take a picture or you may take a screenshot or write the questions for you to organize your thoughts in for the sharing later on. All right, so I'll be opening now the breakout rooms.
Hi po. Hello. Wala tayong lunch break.
Hello po.
Walang lunch break? Hello, madam. Tayo po uli.
Oo po, hindi ko po alam kung lunch break.
Walang lunch break?
Ano ma'am, bigyan po wala naman.
Hanggang 12:10 po tayo.
Working lunch, ma'am.
tayong lunch.
Sila daw uso.
Working uso mag-lunch?
Working lunch po.
Ganun po.
May lunch break po pag natapos natin to discussion. Yeah, this one. I think this is the last breakout for before we ano. And then we come back yata at 1:30 po. Medyo maikli.
Okay po.
Asan na po yung asan na po yung facilitator
Nagulat lang
natin?
po ako. Kasi usually po sanay ako pag 12, di po ba? Mag-out, muna, taka na lang uli magre-resume.
Correct. O ayan, nag-share siya ng ano.
So talaga ma'am Vivian, di mo nakakalimutan yung lunch break na yan.
Lalo na pag iluluto mo pa.
Hindi, kasi po yung anak ko nag-o-online. Kakain na raw siya dahil magre-resume sila ng 1 o'clock.
Saka ma'am, kasi
Good din po. Para sa mga anak lang nag-online yung lunch break, ma'am V.
After this breakout, lunch break na po tayo. So, mag-ano naman po, magre-resume after 1 hour. So, we just have to finish po this breakout session 2 po. Thank you po. So for, sorry, breakout session 3 na yung nakalagay. Okay. So, for breakout session 2, so I'm still with Ma'am Glenda, my colleague. So, the first one, these are the questions po. When do you think should parents come in to provide support in accomplishing the learning tasks? And how do you think the weekly home learning plan, as indicated in the memo of suggested learning strategies, will help parents in monitoring and guiding their children? Now, there's this one participant from last week who said na considering this weekly home learning plan and it's flexible naman po in terms of you can tweak or modify the design, systematize siya. Kasi nga nung nag-benchmark sila sa private, sabi nga nung nakausap niya dun sa private school, ang nangyari daw, yung ibang estudyante, binigyan nga ng mga materials, pero pinili lang yung sinagutan. Kumbaga parang kung ano yung favorite ng bata na subject, dun lang natapos ng bata or pinag-ukulan ng panahon. So parang may isang ganong possibility nga nang nangyari. Compared if there's a weekly home learning plan that plots the schedule, kasama na dito, let's say kung online ang gagawin nyo, meron din yung screen time, helpful siya. And then, sabi din nung isang participant na during the parents' orientation, we should remind our parents na hindi sila talaga yung sasagot ng module. Kumbaga, ano lang sila, guide on the side. So, kasi may tendency, baka yung ibang parents nga naman, sila na mismo ang sumagot, no? Lalo na yung mga capable na dun magsagot ng modules. So anyway, so we just want to get your insights and your opinion about these 2 questions. And in a way, makakatulong din tayo sa iba para pag nag-conduct tayo ng orientation, yung mga strategies that we will implement and tips that we can share to our parents, may share natin sa ating mga clients. So again, when do you think should parents come in and how can this weekly home learning plan will help us monitor our kids, our students? Anyone from the group?
Ako po. From Ikawayan. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning po.
Vivian?
Yes, ma'am. For me, kailangan lang po sigurong tumulong ang parents kapag kinakailangan o hinihingi ng anak na tulungan sila. Lalo na po dun sa mga higher grades. Pero doon po sa kinder to grade 3, dapat mas yung tulong ng magulang kasi kailangan po na close yung monitoring nila, close yung pagbigay nila ng support kasi po hindi pa kaya ng mga bata. Sa division po namin, meron po kaming mga orientation and seminar for parents, especially in kinder and grade 1. Dun sa weekly home plan naman po, napakaganda po nito kasi guided magulang kung anong subject na, kung anong time gagawin ng English, ang math, ang ESP. Guided din po yung bata dun sa mga activities. Kaya maganda po ito. Maganda po siya. At maganda na hindi siya pare-pareho. Kagaya ng BLL na gagawin ng isa tapos hiraman na. Dapat po talaga personal na ginagawa ng teachers dahil teacher ang nakakaalam kung ano po ang dapat na ibigay o ituro dun sa mga learners. Thank you po.
Thank you, Ma'am Vivian. No? So, good point na personalize. No? Although, it's kind of tedious also on the part of the teacher. So, we recommend naman na for the average type of students. Kaya po, merong isang suggestion na in case na talagang may struggling, tsaka natin, aside from the weekly home learning plan, meron tinatawag na individual monitoring plan, which is not for all, no? Talagang for specific students na tingin natin struggling or kailangan ng additional intervention. Thank you, Ma'am Vivian. Anyone from another participant who wants to contribute to the discussion?
Yes, can I share? I'm from Malabon ulit.
Hello, Ma'am Siweko.
Opo. I think it will also help if we structure our tasks in the modules. Specifically telling the student when he or she would need the cooperation or the assistance of the parent. For example, if you want the student to do some research or to do a mock interview, that's when you telling the direction that ask, do you know any riddle? Ask your parent about riddles that they know from childhood. So that is a signal for the parents when they are supposed to assist the student. But for the most part, especially for the higher key stages, the students, of course, are encouraged through the directions that they should answer the task by themselves. And it's except for the key stage one, of course, that I think there should be specific instructions to the parents when they should come in. For example, I saw a module that says that pronounce the following words in front of your elder in the family, and the elder in the family will be the one to check whether you pronounce it correctly. So there should be specific instructions for the elders or the parents and guardians in the family when they are supposed to come in. That's all.
Thank you, Ma'am Siweko. I like your idea po, no? Because right now we are parang coming up with a proposal to enhance nga yung design ng SLM. Although medyo sa first quarter hindi na siya applicable eh. And then we're working on second quarter. So maybe that suggestion of yours, maganda po yun, no? Very specific na parang additional note, not just for the teacher or student, pero merong note for the parents or guardians. Po, maganda nga po yung parang prompt na specific instruction na when to ask help, and so yun po. Thank you, Ma'am Siweko. Hopefully, ma-incorporate namin yan dito sa plan namin na i-enhance yung design, yung instructional design ng third and fourth quarter na SLM. Can we hear another participant to join in the discussion?
Hello, ma'am. From Manila.
This is Ma'am Aida.
Yes, ma'am. This is question number 1 po. The parents could come in to provide support to the learners. Ito specifically, they need to assist the learners in reading. Alam naman natin ngayon na talagang parang ang problem natin ngayon is on reading. So the way that, although we have given instructions to our writers that they have to make all their modules reader friendly, but still we could not forget the fact that there are still many students who are struggling in reading. So siguro dyan na mag-a-assist ng parents. And of course, also in doing their tasks, especially kapag yung task na binibigay dun sa may activity na yun ay medyo challenging sa bata. With regards to the weekly plan, importante kasi yung weekly plan because the parents can schedule their own household tasks. Kasi aside from the schedule that the students have to follow within the week, kailangan magsuot din dun sa kanilang household task din or yung kanilang sariling trabaho at home. Or else, magre-result ito, mawawala ng trabaho ang parents, or the parents would complain later on, yes, nag-aaral lang anak sila naman na nawalan ng trabaho. So, titira natin paano sila mag-fit in. So, they could schedule their work or their household tasks by giving them advanced weekly home learning plan for their learners. Also, para ma-facilitate yung accomplishment ng mga tasks or activities, provided in the modules, and even the worksheets to be provided by the teachers later on, the parents could do some early preparation of materials needed. So at this particular lesson for home economics or for science, on this day, kakailanganin itong mga ito. So they could see in the weekly plan that they will be needing certain materials. So yung parents, hindi na magagahol during the scheduled time na maghanap pa ng mga gamit para matulungan yung bata. Ilang.
Thank you, Ma'am Aida. No, it's a good suggestion din po. No? Nakita natin na pwede ngang i-incorporate pati yung household tasks or chores, no, dito sa weekly home learning plan. So in a way talaga para siyang we train our students yung time management, na kahit wala tayo sa class, meron tayong allotted time and target for the week. Okay? So can we hear another participant? Ma'am Glenda, do we have another volunteer?
May I ask a question po?
Yes po, Ma'am Rebecca.
My question is, are the learning tasks different from the activities in the SLMs? Or these are added activities?
Okay. According to Ma'am Rosalie's session, the activities in the SLM can be placed in the weekly home learning plan. So pwede tayong kumuha from the SLM, and the teacher also has the leeway na magdagdag or mag-modify. Kasi nga, depending din dun sa estudyante, sa profile ng student natin, tsaka sa location. So again, ideally, the task will come from the SLM, but if the teacher deems to modify it based on the needs and the background of the learners, possible naman po. I hope that...
Okay po. Another question po. Will it be done per subject?
Ano po siya? Weekly home learning plan. So,
yes,
mangyayari parang collaborative. So, ipa-plot na, kumbaga, class program diba? For the week, ito. So, in a way, siguro nasa inyo ng level kung paano i-collate, masisynthesize yung output ng iba't ibang subject area. You can do it synchronously, simultaneously, or asynchronously. Tapos one from the team can collaborate and plot for the different learning tasks, good for 1 week. Kasi kunyari, for Monday, itong subjects lang na to. Then for Tuesday, itong subjects na to. So, ganun po. Pero hindi siya per subject. Parang talagang makikita na nung bata yung lahat ng schedule niya for the week. So, all subjects are in that plan po.
Okay, thank you po.
Yung kanina lang po kasing example, daily lang yung pinakita ni Ma'am Rosalie. Pero, dun sa mismong memo at sa mismong handbook that we will distribute, makikita niyo po yung kabuuan. Kumbaga, lang sa layout lang ng presentation ng PowerPoint, kaya hindi napakita yung buo. But then, ideally, it's good for 1 week with all learning subject. Ngayon, nasa strategy nyo na kung paano magko-coordinate yung iba't ibang subject area teachers. And it's a good opportunity also para makita natin, pwede mag-collaborate yung ibang subjects. Kaya nga, siya, flexible. So, not necessarily will come from the SLM, but the SLM is the primary resource. The teachers themselves, they can modify and enhance kung whatever is the learning task they deem appropriate for their kids, for the students po.
Okay po, thank you po.
Thank you, Ma'am Rebecca. Do we have other participants po who when do you think should parents come in? How can the weekly home learning plan will guide the children? And I wonder if during the orientation nakasama yung pag-orient sa magulang sa paggamit ng module. Hindi naman talaga technically explained to them each part, but at least they have an idea what's this module all about. And at the same time, if you're able to include the weekly home learning plan in your orientation, or what's your, yun po, anyone from the group, from this group?
Still the same question as 1 and 2?
Yes, Ma'am Perfecta.
Yeah, I just would like the parents should be reminded that they only come in, or they can only provide assistance to their children if the children cannot really work on the task given to them. Kasi kung minsan meron yung mga parents na kahit alam na nila na kaya ng mga anak nila tapos gagawin pa rin nila para sa mga anak nila. So the parents should also be reminded that they can only come in the provision of technical assistance if they think that their children cannot really work on the task given to them. So that we will be also training the children to be independent and to learn for themselves. Tsaka dito sa weekly home learning plan po, ma'am, if the parents will study in advance, what are the contents or what are the things embedded in this weekly home learning plan, then they will have that effective way of monitoring and guiding their children. Alam na nila kung ano yung mga dapat na gawin para sa kanilang mga anak to monitor how learning will take place po.
I agree with you, no, ma'am. Tama po, no? So, dapat si parent din talagang ma-orient nga, no? Ano yung purpose and benefit of using weekly home learning plan. Para aside kanina yung sabi na ma-anticipate niya na ano ba yung materials needed like in TLE or in science. At nakikita din ng parent na talagang may focus and direction, no? Hindi yung random lang na pwedeng ano yung sagutan ng bata or the kid can just simply skip any pages or any lesson in the module. So we see the benefit, the advantage of using a weekly home learning plan na talagang for organization, for time management, systematized way of accomplishing all the learning tasks for all subjects. Thank you, ma'am. Can we hear another participant po? Do we have another participant? Ma'am Glenda?
Hello, ma'am. Let's hear from Region 2. We have,
I have just shared my ideas, ma'am. I am from Region 2. Ma'am Perfecta Bautista is from Region 2, SBO Santiago City.
Thank you, Ma'am Perfecta. Okay. Siguro, Ma'am Glenda, can we have from CAR region?
Okay, ma'am.
Meron from CAR region in this group. Where I see more of Region 3 and Metro Manila.
Let's hear from Ma'am Esther Gramaje. Here, Ma'am Esther, Region 2.
Ma'am Esther Gramaje from Region 2. Can we hear from you, Ma'am Esther?
Our EPS in Science is in the office of the ARD. Anything po? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Kasi Octavito, bali yung tinatawagan yung... Yeah.
Hello po, sir. Good day po.
Hi, yes.
Sir, what do you think po about these two questions? When do you think should parents come in and how can the weekly home learning plan? Kamusta po, sir?
Parents can really, there is no new thing for parents because, you know, parents who are supporting their children during the previous time with this new normal, what is only challenge to them is they should be keep in touch with what is happening in their children. Double challenge lang sa kanila. In which, of course, especially those parents who are really not very active to the following up of what's happening in school before. So what's the challenging there is on how this DepEd will come in. Kaya nga, ang pwede lang nating i-provide sa kanila is to really look into the parents who are not able to maybe provide support in accomplishing the learning task. Yun lang ang challenging kasi lagi naman ang ating mga parents ay sumusuport sa atin. Kaya nga naging successful din tayo dahil of our parents. Challenging lang sa mga group of parents na ganun.
Thank you, Sir Octave. No, I agree po, no. Talaga nga naman primarily role talaga nila, no, pagdating sa pag-aaral. Alam ngayon mas close yung coordination, strong coordination and monitoring. Kasi nga may mga ilan talagang hindi mahiling mag-follow up. Pero ngayon talagang in a way mafo-force ang parent na tutukan or ma-monitor talaga yung mga bata. Thank you, Sir Octave.
Yung dagdag ko nga, yun sana talaga ang bigyang pansin ng ating teachers, including us, the RO, SDO, yun sana ang bigyang pansin. Yung nangangailangan talaga ng support, yung parents support on how they could really guide their children.
Oo nga, Sir Octave. Tama, pwede yun, no? Yung kasi sa sa iba, ang concern nila, what if the parents are not capable to coach? Or halimbawa, hindi din nakapagtapos. Diba? Yeah. So talagang, paano nga ba naman nila matuturuan? Kung mismo sa kanila, challenging din yung lesson ng bata. So, maganda po yung strategy nyo na
in fact, ma'am, but to share, of course, Region 2 sa learners' accomplishments on their, of course, daily tasks, weekly tasks, and eventually yung performance tasks na ini-expect natin. Thank you po. Sorry po, ongoing kasi ang meeting din namin with ARD. Thank you po.
Thank you, Sir Octave. Thank you po for sharing that.
Congratulations, BLD. We appreciate.
Thank you, Sir Octave. I agree. Oo nga, kasi in some regions and areas, nag-hire din sila ng learning facies or para-teacher. So later sa plenary 3, we will listen to the next speakers about the roles and responsibilities of the parents and the learning facies. Lalo na katulad nung sa Region 2, no, ang best practice nga nila, may mga mobile teachers sila at nabibigyan ng credit. So, kanya-kanyang initiative, and from this kind of session, no, we can learn from the best practices din at yung mga strategies natin. Lalo na once we conduct the parents' orientation. Do we have another speaker po who wants to share? Ma'am Glenda, meron ba tayong manonominate? Do we or a volunteer from the group? We only have 6 minutes left, so malapit na po tayong matapos.
From Region 3, let's hear from Region 3, Ma'am Mirna Valencia.
Region 3, Ma'am Mirna Valencia, Mabalacat City. Can we hear from Ma'am Mirna?
Hello po, magandang buhay.
Magandang buhay, ma'am.
I think parents should come in to provide support in accomplishing the learning tasks. Of course, whenever the students need the support of their parents. Like in my case, as a parent, yung anak ko, hindi siya kaagad humihingi ng support sa akin sa pag-accomplish ng mga learning tasks niya. Before kasi, yung delivery mode, teaching delivery mode ng anak ko, meron na siyang mga self-learning module na sinasagot. Ginagamit sa kanyang school. So, sa mga students naman namin ngayon na using the modular modality, like in the Division of Mabalacat City, we use the modular modality. We printed the different modules in different learning areas. So, kailangan talaga yung support ng mga parents sa pag-start pa lang ng paggamit nila ng modules kasi bago 'yon sa kanila, bagong pamamaraan ng kanilang pag-aaral. So ini-encourage talaga namin dun sa mga pilot testing na ginawa ng aming division na ginawa namin. We really encourage our parents to support the students in accomplishing the learning task na nandoon sa modules. And yung naman pong weekly home learning plan, makakatulong ng malaki iyon sa paggagabay at pag-monitor ng mga parents natin sa kung saan na o sa kung paano lalakarin ng ating mga mag-aaral yung kanilang mga pagsagot sa mga modules nila na hawak-hawak nila sa kanilang mga bahay. Yun po. That's all. Thank you very much. At talagang ako po yung natawag.
Thank you, Ma'am Mirna. Ma'am Mirna, I wonder, kamusta po yung naging simulation or yung pilot niyo po? Anong naging feedback or observation niyo?
Okay po. Maganda po yung feedback sa community, sa mga parents. At through the help din po ng aming local government unit, ng aming pong mayor, na nag-provide po ng 10 lithograph machine para po matulungan yung pag-print, matulungan ng SDO Mabalacat City sa pag-print ng different modules sa mga different learning areas, pati na rin po ng mga LAS o learning activity sheets na gagamitin din ng aming mga learners sa Division of Mabalacat City.
So you mentioned, ma'am, about the learning activity sheet. So gumawa din po pala ang mga teachers, no? Para nag-contextualize ba kayo?
Yes po, ma'am. Gumawa po. Ang Division of Mabalacat City po crafted different learning activity sheets in different learning areas sa mga MELCs po nila. Bawat MELC gumawa po ng learning activity. Yung mga MTs, HTs na sa aming division, and even the teachers po na nagkaroon ng letter of intent na willing po na gumawa ng mga LAS.
Wow,
thank you. Yung preparasyon na ginawa at patuloy na po na ginagawa ng aming division.
That's good, no? So, kumbaga, may supplementary materials yung SLM, no?
Yes.
Diba? Kumbaga, may alternative task. Kaya nga po yung weekly home learning plan, flexible siya. You can get it from the SLM at the same time, kung may gusto i-add si teacher or i-tweak, pwede din po yon. Depending na rin po dun sa klase ng estudyante at sa class niya po.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Mirna. So, ready na rin si Mabalacat, no, this coming October.
Ready na po.
Pero ma'am, nakapag-conduct na rin tayo ng parents orientation, of course, before the simulation.
Opo, yun pong ADM simulation ng mga schools.
Okay.
Kasama na po yung mga parents. Pina-include talaga na po namin. Kasi po, pag-transfer talaga ng learning sa mga student natin in this new normal po.
Yes, talagang sabi nga ni Sir Octave, no, kailangan lang i-remind sa kanila na talaga nga namang primarily it's their duty, i-reinforce din natin sa kanila, no, during our orientation. Now, we work hand in hand with them.
Yes,
thank you so much.
And they are willing naman po, ma'am, as long as kakapacitate din po natin sila
yes.
on how to assist their anak po, their mga anak sa pag-conduct po ng mga learning activity natin sa bahay.
So in plenary 3, we will listen to that. We will have more ideas on that, no, what we should tell or how we can guide our parents, no, with our third session this afternoon. So
yes,
again, thank you.
Tulong po 'yan sa kanila.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Mirna and the rest of the group. So now we will go back to our plenary and be ready for our lunch break. Thank you.
For lunch po, please be back at 1:30 on or before 1:30. So we will be having a we will be having a 1 hour break. Thank you po. See you again.